Thanks for tuning in to the Prime Bookseller Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast discussing all things Amazon bookselling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Prime Bookselling Podcast. I'm Eric, and we are back again with another episode. And today we are doing a business segment, and what we're going to talk about is leveraging a business to improve your life. That's much more clever of a title for it. Leveraging a business to improve your life. So I think everybody that gets into the world of starting a business does so to improve their life, basically. I mean, they want to get out of the 9-to-5 grind. They want to get more freedom. They want to have something that they can call their own, blah, blah, blah. And these are all great reasons to get into business, and they're great aspirations to have in your life. I mean, having a business has changed my life. It's made my life significantly better and has given me a freedom that I don't know that I could ever go back to the other way of doing things, where I have to go and punch in a clock and try to make an employer happy for 8 hours a day. I should say that I could certainly do that, but it does not sound appealing to me at all. But one of the big things that I learned, so for the first 12 years of being in business, I feel like I approached that the very wrong way, because I was trying to build a business to make money. And I was completely negating the fact of, should I building a business that would fit into my life. And the main reason why I think most people, and I think that this approach is what most people take when they start a business. And I think that most people take that approach is because that's the way we're taught to do it. That seems like the logical way to approach a business. And because everybody seems to equate that a business is just a piece of their life that provides them, and the number one thing that it provides them with is the financial component of your life. And in my experience, keep in mind 16 years of experience here, that is that's a significant piece of what a business does for you, but it's also, to me, when I look back at businesses, I certainly think I could probably find a job. I know that there are jobs out there that pay more money than I make as an Amazon bookseller, without a doubt. But when I look at what I've built, I don't feel like there is any job out there that provides me with the flexibility, the rewards that my business does. And I think what I've equated to being the secret to getting to that point in a business, because I think a lot of business owners never do actually feel that way. And I've heard plenty of horror stories. I actually hear that this is a common horror story of business owners. I personally don't know that I know any business owners that have suffered from this, but at the same time, if a business owner is suffering from this, hint, hint, they're not going to tell you, because it's a negative thing and people don't like to share their negative things. But is that they get trapped in this wheel where they feel like they're a slave to their business. And I think the reason that happens is because when you build your business, you build it to be a money-making machine, which is not a bad idea on the surface. But you also have to play into other variables to it too, where you want to be happy. You want to be content. You want to be fulfilled. You want to have the flexibility. You have to take all these different aspects that you want from your business, and you have to figure out how to build your business to achieve those. And I hear too many people say, well, I'm just going to make a boatload of money, and then the rest of that is going to come. And the reality of it is that if you approach it with that philosophy, what's probably going to happen is maybe you'll make a boatload of money. Maybe you won't make a boatload of money. Statistics show that you probably won't make a boatload of money. But either way, and you're going to become a slave to your business, because your only mission with that business is to figure out how to make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it makes enough money to be able to give you this freedom. Well, hint, if you never set out to achieve that, money doesn't equal freedom. You can leverage money to get freedom, but it does not equal freedom. So like, just because you have money does not mean you're free. There are plenty of people that make, I don't know, $200,000-$300,000 a year, but they work 18 hours a day and they're absolutely miserable. Now, there's probably other ones of those people that do all the things I just said and are very happy, but there are plenty that are not happy about that fact. So the number one thing that you have to look at is you have to approach this and say, I would flip it all completely on the side around. And I would say, okay, I'm looking at starting a business. So with starting a business, this is how I would like my life to look. Maybe come up with 5 bullet points. And now when you come up with these bullet points, make them short term. And not short term as in like a week, but like, let's just say like 3 years. Don't look out 10 years. Because goals that are 10 years away are very, very hard to achieve. But so what you want to look at is like, where do I want my life to be in 3 years? So like, if I start a business today, what are the very fundamental things that I want to change about my life in the short term? So I'm going to tell a story about somebody that I worked with. And they were in the trucking business. And at this point, at the time when I was working with this person, they were an independent driver. And they had this feeling, so they had somebody that was a very successful independent truck driver, and that independent truck driver told this person that to be successful in the trucking business, you had to get to 50 trucks. So he wanted to be like he would want it to be a full-blown trucking company. So he wanted to take his truck and then he wanted to expand into multiple trucks. And this person had essentially done that, and he told him that you're not successful until you hit 50 trucks. Now, for anybody, if you're one of those people out there that teaches entrepreneurship, don't ever tell a new entrepreneur this, because that's terrible advice. But basically, so this guy had in his head that the only goal in his life was to get to 50 trucks. And I tried to explain to him, I'm like, look, it's great that you want to get to 50 trucks. I appreciate that. I hope you get to 50 trucks someday. But understand that it is extremely, extremely unlikely that you jump into a space and you're here at the basic low level, in that in 2 years you just shoot up to the top level. There's a process here. You know, you don't go from 1 truck to 50 trucks in 6 months. You just don't do that. So I'm like, you need to adjust your goals. You need to adjust your goals, and you need to look at and say, okay, what do I want to be done in 3 years? And we discussed this back and forth, and he came to the conclusion that he said, ideally in 3 years, to make his life right, to get the life he would want to have, he would love to be able to stop driving, because that 1 truck that he owned, he was currently driving it, and he was like, it's exhausting to be on the road all the time. I want to build this business, but because I'm on all the road all the time, by the time I get off the road, I'm just burnt out and I don't want to work on anything with the business. And he's like, so my first thing I would love to do is get off the road. And I'm like, okay, now write that down and figure out what are the things that you need to do to get off of the road. So he went from, in this situation, his goal was to get 50 trucks. Now, by changing that around, he wasn't giving up on his goal, but he was picking an intermediate goal. And that intermediate goal might have been, just as a hindsight, I never got to the point where I got this person to understand that that they should do this. So I don't know what their decision was, but I'm going to predict what a decision you could have made was in this scenario was that maybe he adds a second truck, and the revenue between the first truck and the second truck would create enough revenue for him that he could pay the drivers for both trucks as well as take enough money home from him. Now, I don't know if you could do that with 2 trucks, but maybe if you can't do that with 2 trucks, maybe you need 3 trucks or whatever. But he would have had to come to that goal. Now, think about that in your head is, first of all, you are specifically attacking something that you see right now in your life you want to change. You are leveraging your business to change something in your life you don't like. And guess what? He no longer was focused on getting those 50 trucks, but once he got to this goal, then he could stop and he could look at, okay, what's my next goal now? So like in 3 years, where do I want to be? So maybe to get, let's just say he had to get the 3 trucks to get to the first goal. He gets the 3 trucks, gets to the free. He's not driving anymore. So now he looks and says, okay, now where do I want to be in the next 6 years or 3 years or whatever? And he's like, well, maybe at this point now, because I'm over that hump of I'm making solid money. I'm making the money I need. I have some money to invest back in this business. So let's try to achieve adding another 6 trucks. So he adds another 6 trucks. And what you're seeing is he's always working towards that big goal, but he's doing it in small achievable steps so it doesn't feel so hard. So if you're sitting there right now thinking about starting an Amazon bookselling business and your goal is to be a $1 million bookseller by the end of 12 months, that's a stupid goal. I mean, I don't mean to be mean, but I mean, if you're convicted that that's what you need to do, stick with it. But I'm telling you that statistically, you're probably not going to get there because it doesn't happen to very many people. So my advice to you is to pick small actionable steps to get to that $1 million goal. And each step is going to get you a little bit closer. And yeah, it's going to take you a longer time to do it. But if you're gearing those goals to be tailored towards your life, so if you're specifically looking at your life, like in the example of the truck driver where he said the one thing he wants is to not drive anymore, so you make that your primary goal. Well, you as a bookseller, maybe the first stage you start at is that I just want to make I want to start by replacing my income from my job with this. So while you're still working, you're building out. Now you can see by setting that goal, your immediate goal is to get rid of your job, which could take 1 year, could take 5 years, could take 3 years. It really doesn't matter. It depends on how motivated you are to get it done. But that's much more actionable that's much more conceivably doable for you than to say, well, I'm going to be the next $1 million bookseller, because that's just weird. There's nothing there because somebody probably will email me and say, this person and this person and this person went from nothing to $1 million in 2 years. And you're absolutely right. There are examples of those, but statistically, they're anomalies. They're not normal. And if you base your business off of that, you're going to be like, those examples you have in your head are the 0.1%, and the rest of them failed. So who are you going to be? The 0.1% of the rest of them that failed? Statistically, again, you're probably going to be the one that fails. So my advice to you is spin this around, focus on your life, what you want this to do with your life, and try to build incremental steps in improving your life. So maybe the first thing you do is get rid of your job. Then you say, well, I want to travel more. So now you say, okay, by the end of the next 3 years, I want to be taking 3 trips every year. And after that, you might go to, maybe you'll be like, my advice to you would be, instead of adding trips, you would just increase the length of your trips for your next goal. And you just keep building on top of that. And at some point in time, you're going to wake up and you're going to realize that, wow, I built this perfect life for myself. And it's going to feel wonderful. It's going to feel wonderful. And you're still an entrepreneur, and there's still highs and lows of being an entrepreneur, but it's going to feel a lot better than trying to claw and fight your way to something that only a very small percentage of people ever achieve. And hopefully you can see where clawing and fighting is not appealing to anybody. But casually building up to something is, because it is important. I'm not telling you, if you want to say, for the first year, I'm going to live, breathe, and die by this business, I'm cool with that, man, because that gives you a great head start above everybody else. But at a certain point, you can't do that anymore. And you have to be able to run a business and have a good life. And the best way to do that is to look at your business and figure out how you can develop that business to give you a great life. And the reason why doing this with a business is so freaking important I should be saying here, do this with your job, but it's so much harder to do that with your job because your job is not a blank slate. There's built-in confining rules within your job that you have to abide by, and there's a lot of them. Whereas with a business, there is a whole lot more flexibility. I'm not going to say there's not any rules, because there are rules, and especially if you're selling on Amazon, believe me, Amazon has plenty of rules. But the point is that there is way more flexibility there than there is with your day-to-day job. So hopefully that clears this up. Hopefully that gets your mind thinking about, okay, what do I want my life to be, and how can I use this business to get there? Because I think as a starting out bookseller, this is the number one thing that you can do for yourself, is to look at what you want your life to be and figure out how your business can get you there, which is not something that's typically taught to anybody. If you go take business classes, they're not going to teach this to you. You go to take anything, they're not going to teach this to you because it doesn't drive profits, which is what everybody's obsessed with. But just take my word for it. At least try it, because you're going to find out that profits are a lot less important than being happy. And just realize that there are a lot of very successful people that are not happy. Like, I've read multiple books, and I couldn't even cite one for you, but these books will have clearly stated that money is important to people, because without money, you can't have a house, and you can't have not even a house, but you can't afford a place to live or a place to eat. That's a really struggling thing for people. But once you have those things, once you have that house to live in and that food to eat, money becomes a lot less important to you. But people still think it's really, really important, but it's not. Because most things that you'll purchase will only have like a 3-month window where you feel any sort of fulfillment about purchasing them, and then that just goes away. And you maybe you go out and buy a $2,000 couch to replace your shitty $60 couch you bought on Craigslist 5 years ago. But for the first 6 months, you're going to be like, yeah, that couch looks nice. But after that, it's just going to be a couch, and it's going to offer no value to your life. It's not going to make anything any better. So you think that all these things that you might be doing are making your life better, but they're only making your life better for a very short period of time. And the only way to make your life better is by having great experiences, spending time with great people, and just having fun. And the best way to do that is to figure out what is fun for you. And I'm going to wrap this episode up because I feel like I'm going off on things, but there is one more thing that I want to really, really enforce on everybody is that if you are looking, I'm going to challenge everybody after this episode to go sit down and think about, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my business to bring to my life to make it better? That's your homework assignment. Figure that out. Now, 98% of you out there are going to go to, the obvious answer is going to be, I want to make a boatload of money. And that is not an answer. That money is nothing more than a piece of paper the government prints off or a number on a computer screen that's in an account somewhere. That's all it is. It's not, money doesn't make your life better. It's what you do with that money that makes your life better. So if your response to this challenge of mine is that I want to make a boatload of money, I'm going to tell you that you have not accepted the challenge. You have failed, because money doesn't make your life better. It's what you do with the money. So now you say, okay, granted, all right, you want to make a boatload of money, but what is that money going to do for your life to make your life better? And you haven't figured out what you want your life to be until you've answered that question. Because guess what? If you say, I just want to make a boatload of money. So if I say today, I'm starting a business, my goal for 3 years is to make a boatload of money. You know what's going to happen? Let's just say in 3 years, I make a boatload of money. Now what's going to happen? Now it's goal time again. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, I need to make a boatload more money. And you're just going to keep repeating that process forever. And there's a good chance that your life is just going to suck as much as it did when you started this business, but you'll just have more money. So at some point in time, you have to stop and you have to figure out, okay, I have all this money. What makes me happy? And my advice to you is to figure that out early, because you're going to find out that if you figure it out early, you're going to need far less money to live your ideal life than you would if you wait until you're making millions and millions of dollars to finally figure it out. So, and on top of that all, I just want to reiterate that if you do take it where you figure it out early, it doesn't kill your motivation to make more money. You still want to make more money. You happen to make more money happy. You happen to live most of your life happy instead of living most of your life trying to achieve that next step, which is going to make you happy. So with that, I'll wrap this episode up, and I want to thank everybody for their continued support of this podcast. As normal, if you have questions, reach out, sales@kingsridgemedia.com, as well as we do have some sourcing options for Amazon booksellers. If you're looking to get more books into your stores, please check us out at kingsridgemedia.com, or you can also check out the links in the show notes for more information on those programs. I will be back in 2 weeks with another episode, and I want to thank everybody for their continued support. See you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Prime Bookseller Podcast. Join us for the next episode as we discuss all things Amazon bookselling.